Stars! Christmas stars! Do you read me? This is Matt Kelly of the Christmas 365 Earth Base. Do you read me?
Good evening, stars. I wish I could say this was going to be a silent night, but we've gotten word from the Dynamic Resolutions podcast station that there are creatures a-stirring. It's an emergency that only a fine crew of spatial, technical, astronautical rangers like yourselves can handle.
It appears the NORAD Santa tracker has, ironically, lost track of Santa.
We got word from the $2 Late Fee podcast that his last confirmed sighting was near a Martian mining colony, one of our Earth settlements, a town called Christmas.
With any luck, it's just some gremlins playing jingle bells and listening to the In Defense of Fandom podcast with our radar.
Maybe the big man is already on his way back to Earth enjoying an episode of YA OK.
But with only a few hours until Christmas and a world full of children expecting to wake up with presents under their tree this Christmas, it's not a risk we can afford to take. We need to make sure that Santa comes home.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to investigate the town of Christmas, bring the big man home, and make sure we all have a holly jolly holiday.
Hey everybody, we are back with another coverage of Twisted Metal Season 2, and as I am joined every week, Shane O'Hare is here.
Good morning. Good morning.
You're Shane O'Hare.
Hey, that's a good one. I'm going to use that.
I
Shane
can't believe I'm
O'Hare.
the first one to say that.
Me either. I need to pull this down. My room's always a mess, but who cares?
Right.
Twisted Metal's a mess, aren't we all?
A mess. So this is the penultimate episode of our recap series. Next week, we're getting the final 3 episodes of this season, possibly the.
Oh, there's going to be
final
3. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting 10, 11, and 12 next week. Shane, last week we were kind of lukewarm on one of the 2 episodes, and I had said I don't think we're going to get a racing episode. I don't think we're going to get 2 racing episodes, I think is what I actually predicted, but that I thought we would get more character development, but I was hoping that it would be more fun than the previous episode, and I think I got that on these 2 episodes.
Yeah. These were super. They were goofy. They were filler episodes, but had moments of narrative like pushed through them. But they were goofy. They were weird. I had a good time. I watched the show with my dad, and he was kind of just like, "This isn't moving the story forward. What's going on?"
I feel like I wrote down more quotes than I've ever written down while watching these 2 episodes. There are some really, really funny lines in this, and we get a little bit more background and story on a bunch of characters while, like you said, being in like a goofy fun package. We'll start with episode 8, obviously. And in this one, we start off with a flashback to before Axel is this half robot man, and we find out that he was a hitman for hire. And when he shows up at one of his hits, he refuses to kill this baby girl. And later on, the vultures raid camp and they take the baby from him. And that's like all we really get for his backstory in this first episode. Meanwhile, John and Quiet, they're having an argument over the whole Wish situation that we were left with a cliffhanger. But in one of the more brilliant early moments, Sweet Tooth is called into the doctor's office to be informed that he's infertile. And he doesn't understand what that means. And the doctor pulls out a penis statue, basically, and is explaining to him, well, these are where the testicles are. And he goes, buddy, I got plenty of testicles. And the doctor says, you actually have too many testicles, and none of them have sperm in them. Which is such a great line.
That cracked me up so much. Like, that was absolutely so fucking funny.
It's such a good, weird line. But this episode gets awesome quick because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a character that I kind of forgot existed, Frostbite, just eats it out of nowhere, and we find out that Calypso has sent in the Apocalypse 9,
which
has no established thing as far as I can recall.
No, not at all. But the first is Apocalypse 9 like a reference to something, like the name?
I have no clue. I feel like that has to be something tied to the games in some way, shape, or form, but I don't know what that means, but he has sent them into the building to kill the contestants as a bonus round of the competition, and has put the whole building on lockdown. So the contestants have to team up in order to survive. Unfortunately, while all this is happening, Mr. Grimm has been locked out of the school.
Yeah, he was fishing.
So Quiet, Raven, and Vermin all have to team up, and they actually are able to kill a ton of the Apocalypse 9. Vermin is fucking nuts in this episode.
So funny. There's like when Raven and Quiet end up like walking into a room, and there's like a dead flayed, and Vermin's like, I did it.
He's covered in blood. Like, covered from head to toe in blood. It's so gross. And I think this is it's the next episode, because her roommate is Axel.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the next episode she's flirting with Axel, and she still has like dried blood on her, and he's like, you have not showered once since we got here. Speaking of Axel, him, Dave, Mike, and Stu get stuck in another room, and Mayhem is kind of begrudgingly tagged up with John.
Yeah.
Dave, Mike, and Stu keep trying to talk to Axel, encouraging him that, like, you used to be a hired killer. Like, you can still kill. Like, he's saying that he can only kill under the influence of the tires. And they're like, no, that's not the case. Like, you killed before, you can kill again.
Yeah, because the gimmick. So the one thing that I wanted to like touch on was like Calypso sends the Apocalypse 9, and they're just crash test dummies.
Yeah,
which they have yellow skin and the crash test, like the like circles. Which again, this show is just hitting all different types of nostalgia for people our age. Like they knew what they were doing. Because the crash test dummies were a cultural phenomena when I was a kid.
Boys, there was a cartoon series.
There was like they had music.
Commercials freaked me the hell out.
Oh, really?
Like the talking like crash test dummies in the car preparing to like be in a car crash. I'm like, this is weird. I don't like this.
Oh, they were funny. I loved it. It taught me about vehicle safety. Always wear your seatbelt.
Yep.
But the gimmick is Calypso says, hey, it's all the contestants versus the Apocalypse 9. Whoever's alive at the end or in the morning moves on to the next round. But he specifically like locks everyone away from their weapons, and they're just in the school. And Axel is trying to get to the garage to get his gasoline, because throughout the series, he's always drinking gas. And I always interpreted that as he's like, when he got experimented on for the Human Axle project, something like changed him so that he runs on petrol. So he's freaking out that he can't get his gas, and then ends up in the room with Stu, Mike, and Dave. And he's like, I need my gas. I can't do anything. And Dave decides, he's like, you know what, man, let's have an intervention. And they sit down and have like an AA style intervention.
He has a line where he's like, hey, man, I used to eat human flesh. It's fucking gross. Like, it's so fucking funny. Their whole bit is great. And they are able to motivate Axel, who just like goes on a fucking killing spree. But then I think it's Mike who says it to Stu afterwards, where he goes, hey, but real talk, I don't think fixing that dude's only weakness was our best idea. Like Axel is like left to his own devices is a killing machine. And I think it's smart that we do the scene with Sweet Tooth with the doctor, because it also like removes Sweet Tooth from the equation, who probably could kill the Apocalypse 9 no problems.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it's like a smart narrative idea to be like, all right, for this to even have any weight, we have to have a reason for Sweet Tooth not even to be around while this is happening. Like,
and you know, this episode, like the writing in the show has these just intense 10 out of 10 moments of perfectness and hilarity. Like that moment where it's like, hey, you know, curing this guy's only problem it was probably a dumb idea. Yeah. But there's also a part at the beginning. There's an establishing shot down a hallway, and Raven is like walking around, and she's like walking all like moody and evil like, and all the lights in the school are flickering, and she's walking, and she just goes, Someone needs to fix those lights.
Yeah. Well, so let's get to the end of this episode because the beginning of the next episode has another one of those.
Oh, we missed the other nostalgia bait in this episode when John and Mayhem are like teaming up. Also, there's a lot of violent kills in this episode.
It is a gory, violent episode, and I loved it. It was a great way to still have that violence without it being another car chase episode.
Yeah, yeah. It but they're looking for weapons, and Mayhem finds a talk boy and starts like the old fucking like hi kids, we're home early. Like I was like, yo, this is nostalgia bait, and she uses a talk boy to lure one of the Apocalypse 9 so that they could like jump them and throw them into a table saw in the woodworking room, which also I think. So the lore, they like lore dump this Apocalypse 9 group where they're like yellow and they have these like tattoos on them, and they're like, why does their skin look like that? And someone like is familiar with the Apocalypse 9 and says, oh, they burn all their nerve endings off so they can't feel pain. So they're fed to, like, when they were presented to me, I was like, oh, are these like robots or androids? They're just like they're just weird dudes.
They're just weird dudes. So we do get a banger in this episode because the soundtrack in this is great. It's a little bit of a different banger because all of this mayhem and massacre, specifically when Axel starts ripping hell through the hallways, is soundtracked by the Crash Test Dummies, which is such a funny joke that it's the band Crash Test Dummies playing while these Crash Test Dummy looking characters are being murdered.
I didn't know that song. Yeah. I was like, what is this reference? That's
it's a Canadian band called the Crash Test Dummies.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then like during the fight where Axel's just ripping dudes off and like smashing heads, Dave gets splattered with blood, and he goes like, and he starts to like lick the blood off of his fingers, and I'm like, the cannibal's coming back.
Wait, you called that shit. We'll get into that in episode 9.
Yeah,
you called that shit.
And also I called the revelation. When he was talking about his past and about this baby that he saved after he went in and killed all these people, which also was a very cool the scene where he was contracted to go kill these drug dealers. It was very first person shooter.
Yes.
So really cool. And he like kills all these drug dealers in this drug den and then saves his baby. And then as he's telling that story, I'm like, oh, I bet that baby is somebody we know. And I told my dad, and then I was like, I called it.
Yeah. I mean, that I assumed that baby would come up, but I did not. When we find out who that baby is, I was actually like, oh, that makes sense, actually, with everything. But so this episode ends. John and Quiet have now like rekindled their friendship. They understand that they both made a mistake. And all of a sudden, as they exit the room, they're back in the wishing well room. So we start episode 9 where this episode leaves off. Are you familiar with a phrase that's kind of attributed to The Simpsons called the screw the audience joke?
No, but I think I could decipher it based off of the name alone.
Yeah. So the idea of the screw the audience joke for The Simpsons is like the best example that I always use to explain a screw the audience joke in The Simpsons is like there's an episode where Homer's being chased by security dogs, and he's like, how am I going to get away from this? He's like, oh, wait. And he pulls out a bunch of sausages from his pocket. And the joke should just be, why does Homer have a bunch of sausages? Now he can throw them to stop the dogs. But he goes, eating these wieners will give me the energy I need to get away. And then he eats the sausages and can run away. So it's like whatever your brain thinks the joke is going to, it completely goes in a different direction to mess with you. So this has this moment early on where John and Quiet meet up with Calypso, and John says he wants to revoke their wish. And Calypso talks all this mystical stuff about the importance of following the rules. And he goes, you're both going to need to drink from the wishing well. And they're like, drink from the wishing well? hands them cups, and they drink, and then he just goes, "All right, well that fixed everything. You guys are good to go." It's so good how much it builds up to nothing.
And that scene really like hit for me, is that I realized because on that scene there's also, we talked about it, like Vermin and Axel are in their room and she's covered in blood and he's like working out and like, "You fucking stink."
Yeah.
All the actors for their characters are so good. And then in that scene, I was like, yo, this Calypso actor is perfect for this role.
Have you ever seen Barry? Because that's what I know him from.
No, I never saw Barry.
You would like Barry, but he's kind of in a similar vein in Barry, where he's like a dude who's a cold-blooded killer that like should not be trusted, but he's also like the most likable dude in the world simultaneously while being like a cold-blooded killer. And that's what I do like about this Calypso, is that they've kind of built a Calypso where I don't think that every wish is going to be a monkey paw wish. I think that Calypso, based on this interaction with Quiet and John, and based on his interaction with John in the flashback, I feel like this Calypso based how close to the reality your wish is based on the person you are. You know what I mean? Where it's like, for people like John and Quiet, who are like genuinely good people with good intentions, he's less likely to fuck with than if it's someone who has like selfish expectations. Like, I think that John giving up his wish to bring Dollface back has like secured almost their safety in that wish. I could be totally wrong. He could still fuck up shit, because I feel like it would be mind-boggling to me if John and Quiet aren't the people who win the tournament based on everything that's put in front of us. But, you know, I feel like, okay, whatever their wish is creates season 3, basically, like the monkey paw version of that. But we'll see. I'm very excited. But I loved every moment of this episode because I love a good high school movie. And this is a full-blown prom episode. He's like, "Hey, guys, you're going to let your hair down. It's going to be a nice prom. This is for the solstice." And they're all
the winter promenade. And I really got to touch, like I took notes on this one, but there's Mayhem's in her room and there's this big ornate chest with like a letter on it, and it's like, whoa, what is this? And like she like walks up to it and it's all like tense and everything, and she opens up the letter and she's looking at it and she goes, duh, and I'm like, oh, she can't read.
Which leads into another really funny bit when everyone's showing up for the party and she walks up and goes, "Well, this dress fits like shit." And Piper's on and goes, "You have it on backwards." Because like obviously she was, you know, spoiler alert to a revelation that happens in this episode. We find out that she's the baby that Axel spared when he was like hired to kill all those drug dealers. Yeah. But obviously she's been raised by like nomads with cultures. So like, why would she know how to properly put on a dress, or like why should she read or any, like she's like a big dumb baby. Like she's an adult dumb baby.
Which and also in that scene where they're Quiet is like, "Here, let me help you with your dress," and she's like fixing the dress, blocked by Quiet, and then Calypso comes on the PA. The I don't know what the term is, but the actual just like physicality of Mayhem's acting in that scene was just like it was cartoonish in like a really good way. Like she her head sticks out from behind Quiet, and it's like framed well, and it's just very like over the top and animated. And I'm like, all these actors are great for their characters and their roles.
It is a really well casted show. So we basically, Calypso announces that they're doing this prom. It's for everyone to let loose, but they do have to do a blood offering first. And every contestant,
as you do.
That's what I did at my prom. Every contestant, except for Axel, obviously because he has metal hands, has to cut open their hand and let some blood drip out. And then it's just prom time. And Quiet's the only one that's suspicious of this party. John is like left his concerns at the door and is just like dancing his ass off. And my God, we have a soundtrack to end all soundtracks.
Before we do that, like I'm sorry, we got to step back like 2 steps because this episode was just like rapid fire, so fucking funny. When Stu and Sweet Tooth get the like invitation to the prom, Sweet Tooth just straight up like fourth walls. He's like, "Oh, I've always wanted to do a prom episode. They're perfect." Like references like TV directly. But did you when Calypso they're in the gymnasium and there's like this tree and he's cutting everyone's hand and they're putting their blood on the tree and he's talking about what the winter promenade, like the ceremony is. Did you catch like the little Calypso lore that was just slipped in there?
No, remind me.
So he's talking about how like this
said about hundreds of years, right? Like he's existed for like
no. This is like I paused it and like I talked about. I was like, Dad, did you catch that? So he's talking about like this winter, ceremony and party, and it goes back hundreds of years, all the way back to the Roanoke colony, and where they. Which do you know what the Roanoke colony is?
Yeah, so he's part of the Roanoke colony.
Yeah, and I was like, I slammed the space bar down, and I was like, "Did you catch that?" And my dad's like, "I did catch that." So if anyone doesn't know, the Roanoke colony was like 1600s era American colony, and just it was on. I believe it was on an island, or it was sequestered off. And they just were like, "Hey, we're gonna go out there. We're gonna settle. We're gonna, be pilgrims." And years and years and years go by, and some people go out there and be like, "Let's go check on the Roanokes," and they're just zero trace, gone, just poof. And they have it's just like they just disappeared. And there was like an ominous message carved in the tree, and that's like one of the great mysteries of the world, kind of thing. Like, what happened to the Roanoke colony? But Calypso was potentially was part of it.
Well, and to go back to the Sweet Tooth thing where he talks about a prom episode, if I'm remembering correctly, in the first season when we get like a little bit of a Sweet Tooth backstory where he goes to the sane asylum, isn't it established that he was like a child star before? So he's referring to as a child star on a TV show, wanting his TV show to have a prom episode, and
that's right.
We don't know what happened between him being just a kid actor and what led to him becoming Sweet Tooth, but something happened in the middle. That made him lose his mind.
That was good memory. Good memory, because I forgot all about that.
Because that episode, I was like, I want to know so much more. I was so intrigued by what could be next there. So there is this like cool prom aspect where like Quiet finally lets her hair down, and like her, John, and Mayhem are having like the prom of their life, but also Dave and Mike are like wanting Stu to be part of their team, and they're like in the photo booth, and it leads to this joke where Stu is like, "I'm gonna go get you guys some fingers," and he goes, "Now, Dave, I just want to clarify, these are chicken fingers." And Dave gets so pissed and storms off. And Mike's like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you can't make jokes about that with a dude who's in recovery." So Stu goes to try to like mend the friendship, and instead finds Dave eating some of these dismembered body parts.
He was eating frostbite.
Yeah. He's just like eating parts of the body, and he's like, "You're still a fucking cannibal." And they get into this huge fight, which leads to Dave impaling his own head on a hook. And Stu just like quickly frames everything to look like a suicide, just goes back to the prom like nothing happened.
I love that he's writing the note.
Yeah, like it's clearly like a Sweet Tooth inspiration at that point, right? Like he is. I think your prediction that Sweet Tooth might die and Stu becomes the new Sweet Tooth, because he's doing like chaotic shit. Like that's chaotic stuff. He didn't even have anything to do with Dave's death and still covers it up.
It's he hangs him up and he starts writing the suicide note, and he's like, "You're probably wondering how I got here." And it's like, bro.
Well, and then when Mike's like, "Did you bump into Dave?" and he goes, "Yeah." He said he's got some stuff he's got to work out. Like he's like laying the. I cannot wait for next week's episodes just to see what happens when they find Dave's body, because it's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
This is where Axel discovers Mayhem is the baby that he saved, and then like he's so weird around her, and she's like, "Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
But the highlight of all the prom stuff that's happening, the best element is the Sweet Tooth Vermin Mr. Grimm rivalry that starts to build here.
Which I honestly I thought that none of that made sense. None of that made sense. Like,
but I loved every second of it.
It
Like,
made zero sense to me. So like Grimm is sitting on the bleachers, like they're having a straight up school prom. Everyone is in themed outfits. Like Sweet Tooth is in like a candy cane or a cotton candy pink suit.
Dave and Mike show up dressed as Dumb and Dumber. They're in the orange and blue powdered suits from Dumb and Dumber, while Stu's in a purple suit. He's not in a suit that matches Sweet Tooth. Like Calypso, with the outfits that Calypso sent people, it's almost like he's trying to force the specific interactions to happen as well.
Oh, that's a very good point.
Because obviously, if he was caring about the teammates, he would have Stu and Sweet Tooth dressed similarly, and they're not. He's dressed more like Dave and Mike than he's dressed like Sweet Tooth with his suit.
That's a good observation. I like that. That didn't click. Okay, look at you. But there's the DJ. It's a like cliche prom. And Grimm,
can I knock off this list of songs?
Oh yes,
While we're talking about this? We
yes.
get Spin Doctor's Two Princes, OMC's How Bizarre, Crazy Town's Butterfly, Juvenile's Back That Ass Up, which is John Doe is fucking tearing up the dance floor when that song plays. And then I love this song, The Pretenders' I'll Stand By You, is like the big emotional ending to the episode. But yes, Grimm is on the bleachers, and so is Vermin. They're the outcasts.
and Vermin like is like starting to. This is where it didn't make sense to me. Where she like is approaching him to like dance, and all of his different voices that are inside of him are like, he thinks about you, he likes you. Which there was zero indication before this, so this did feel a little bit rushed to me.
A little bit.
That like let's create a relationship quick. That didn't make any sense to me.
As soon as Vermin hears that there's a prom, she's the American Pie. I gotta get laid at this party. She's like just on the hunt. She's like, I'm gonna fuck something. So like, stay out of my way. So they start dancing, and Sweet Tooth starts to get jealous because like Grimm is fucking killing it on the dance floor, and everybody's impressed, right?
Yeah, there's a line at the beginning of the party where Sweet Tooth is like, we're gonna have a dance circle, like they're gonna be a dance circle around me, and Grimm is in the middle of a dance circle, and he's like, that's supposed to be mine. So that's like the forced conflict, which again, this like drama feels forced, and it felt like it was done too fast, but it does create a series of events for us, which eventually moves the story forward.
So Grimm starts fucking Vermin. They start having sex, and just as they're about to climax, Sweet Tooth just pops.
Oh, don't say it like that. Don't say it like that, Matt. Come on.
Sweet Tooth says, "Man, you weren't kidding. I guess you won the bet. You were able to get her." And this leads to such a great reference. Did you catch this reference? Because I don't know how well you know your 90s teen flicks.
No. Let's hear it.
Vermin goes, I was a fucking bet, which is a direct line from She's All That. And then Sweet Tooth says to Vermin, or to Grimm, oh, I guess she wasn't all that after all.
Oh my God. Okay. Let's go.
My
Let's go.
Teen flick brain popped at that. I was like, that's such a great joke.
So that shows our dichotomy. Like I click onto
right away.
I get old like conspiracy theories, Sasquatch level stuff, and you're like, I know 90s movies. Like we're
I know
weird.
90s movies, and that's what I'm here for. So then So then it cuts to, and it's been a while since we've seen this reality, right? Because we haven't really had Harold around that much this season, but
Which, for reference, Harold is like this
just a brown
weird
paper bag.
paper bag.
But he's talking to this brown paper bag Harold, and then we see the party through Sweet Tooth's eyes, which is everyone is a paper bag except for Harold. who is a
Yeah.
person.
That I thought that the way, so Sweet Tooth is sitting down, everyone is dancing. It's very like sweet and moody and everything, and the camera like does this like pan, and as the camera pans through, like Sweet Tooth is in the center of the shot. As the camera pans around him, it uses him as a wipe, and all the humans that are on the dance floor during the wipe turn to different paper bags with like crayon on them,
just laying lifeless. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's like one bag is like on the turntable for the DJ, just kind of like spinning around
Yeah.
the record. Like, it's showing his insanity, but it also establishes that to him, the paper bag Harold is the only real living thing, which makes it all the more fucked up when Grimm then burns Harold in front of him.
yeah
Which just, you know, now we're just adding fuel to this fire. But unfortunately, nothing can happen because at that moment, Calypso releases some gas into the party and it knocks everybody out. And when they wake up, they are inside of their car and they are about to start the qualifying round to advance into the final round of the competition, which leads me to believe that we are just getting a whole lot of car chaos for these last 3 episodes.
Yeah, and I have to give like the last few shots of this episode mad props, because the way that they filmed it is everyone passes out from the smoke, and then John wakes up in a car with a seatbelt, and he turns to the passenger seat and he goes, "Quiet," and then it shows her lying there and she's like waking up and she goes, "John." But then the camera zooms out from her and she's in the driver's seat of another car by herself.
Yeah.
So everybody is in separate cars by themselves. So this might be the monkey's paw
Yeah.
for them doing the wish backwards, is now that they don't have a wish for one car. They both have their own
They have their
individual
own
wishes.
separate
So
cars and wishes. Yeah.
so now they have to fight, and then everybody, as the episode ends and the camera's zooming out, we see John's car next to this big tower, and there's like creepy, like overcast thunderstorms, and there's all these towers all throughout. And this felt like a PlayStation 1 level. Like, if I'm going to try to explain this the best I can, but there's a certain vibe from this era of video games where the skyboxes are just dark and creepy, of like a repeating pattern, and everything feels very eerie. And this felt like a PlayStation 1 skybox with a flat level with these towers that they have to shoot lightning at some point.
Yeah.
They have to shoot lightning. And I think if this isn't a direct Twisted Metal level reference, I would be shocked, because it feels like it.
It very much does. And now we have to wait. We have to wait until I think Thursday is when the episodes come out. So hopefully next Sunday, but we'll see, because I'm going to the beach this weekend, so we'll see if I can find time to watch the 3 episodes. But ideally this time next week.
Absolutely.
We'll be talking about the last 3 episodes of this season.
And I wanted to pulled up the IMDb to see like some of the like other credits that these actors have had, and this show is getting great like reviews, and it is, and I'm like, because all right, I'll be honest, I feel like I have problems critiquing stuff. Like, I'll go see a movie and I'm like, oh, that was great, that was fine, and then the reviews are like, it's dog shit, and I'm like, oh man. Like, I when it comes to like movies and TV, I feel like I have a difficulty like getting the bad. So I'm always like, yeah, this is like sloppy TV, but it's really fun, it's really great, but it's getting great reviews, and like the reviews just keep getting better and better and better. Like all the praise. If this show doesn't get a season 3, I would be shocked.
Yeah.
But yes, next weekend.
Yeah, we'll find out. I bet that we get those last 2 episodes and we get a season 3 announcement almost all at the same time. And then, I had a lot of fun doing these, so I'm hoping that we get a season 3, so we have an excuse to do this again in a year or two.
Yeah.
But for people who are watching and they're loving your video game takes, lucky for them, you have a video game podcast. So how about you promote that real quick before we sign off?
Yes, you can find more of me on the Blazes video game. No, sorry. You can check out Dynamic Resolution, a video game show right here on the Geekscape.network. We're recording later tonight. We do it every 2 weeks. We got Josh, we got Logan, we got Derek, we got Emil. We just talk about all wild stuff. Last episode, we talked about the Battlefield 6 beta, and we actually talked about representation in video games and the fine line you have to go between it being genuine and being performative. So it was actually a pretty good episode.
I agree. And we'll be back next week for our final thoughts on the Twisted Metal Season 2.
Yeah, bye everybody.